All right, it's the Zoe Empire 2019 playoff preview. Your host, for some of you, your friend, and for all of you, your commissioner, Andrew Skolitsky. Let's jump into it. Here are the top six teams. Not too many surprises here, pretty much exactly as I predicted it. Let's take a look, though, at the very close finish to this season between Thomas and Caleb. So the season really came down to three teams: Josh, Matt Erdman, and of course Thomas. Matt lost to me, throwing out any chance he had of making it in. But of course, Josh did his job. He won. He just needed Thomas to lose this game, and Thomas tried his best. He was the worst manager of the league this week. But that Devontae Parker, Mike Evans, the matchup we all knew this game would come down to. Devontae Parker came up big, gave Thomas the win, and now Thomas went all the way from 7th to 3rd overall place. This was an exciting finish to the season. So better luck next year to all the losers. I'm down here with you guys, but let's talk about the contenders, the people that matter, the people I knew would be here with my predictions exactly right, as I always am. And let's see who's going to win it all, because that's what we all really want to know. Who's going to win this thing? So I could go over, projections and matchups, and based off that, who the experts think are going to win, blah, 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 but I'm going to go with my heart here and tell you I think Mike and Thomas end up in the final game. Mike's pretty obvious pick, number one record, number one point scored. He's won 9 out of his last 10. Thomas, he's heating up himself, though. He's won 4 out of his last 5, number 3 record, and he's number 3 in points scored. And since Josh, who is number 2 in points scored, didn't even make the playoffs, I'd say Thomas is in a pretty good spot here to make a run at the title. At the championship game between Mike and Thomas, I imagine that Mike wins this whole thing. Maybe I'm just making the safe pick here, but it seems pretty obvious to me that he's fairly unstoppable this season. However, my projections have been known to be wrong from time to time, so let's go ahead and take a look at a couple of these matchups. The first 2 games of the playoffs this year. We have Jason Cole versus Caleb Branos, and this looks to be a close game. Cole is favored by 51% by SleeperBot. And the first thing I noticed looking at this is some hard matchups. You have Kyler Murray at Pittsburgh. You have Lamar Jackson at Buffalo. Really hard matchup for any passer. I think the good news for Caleb, though, is they've been a little weak versus the run, and Lamar Jackson happens to be pretty good at running the ball. So I think Lamar Jackson, call me crazy, ends up with a 20-point or better game. He's been a great QB all year. Caleb needs him to come through in this playoff game for him versus a hard matchup. The next one I want to look at is Kamara at the 49ers for Jason Cole. Now, Jason had to trade a lot of pieces to get Kamara. This was supposed to be the piece that puts him over the edge, that helps him go on this championship run. So it's time for Kamara to step up versus the 49ers. Honestly, I see Kamara struggling. I don't see him having a 16-point game, which is what he's projected on Sleeper right now. I see him more around a 10-point game. I know Cole's probably hoping different here. These two teams, honestly, are both very similar. They're both a 7-9 record. Both have hard matchups. If you look at their points for on the year, there's only a slight difference. Caleb scored 22 points more on the year. So almost identical teams. I have Caleb winning in a close game here. We'll see how it shakes out, but this one to me looks like Caleb. Okay, so for our last matchup, we're going to look at Vince versus Thomas. I'm looking at this and I'm seeing a lot of good matchups for Vince. So I think he's going to put up a decent amount of points. I can see why SleeperBot has him a 56% chance favored matchup here. He has Kirk Cousins versus Detroit, Bell versus Miami, Moore versus Atlanta. Those all sound pretty nice. However, I did want to take a look at Montgomery versus Dallas. Now, I think this RB battle between him, Sanders, and Montgomery in general will decide this matchup. However, Montgomery, he had a good game last week, starting to heat up. Maybe he's looking a little better to some people. But I think Dallas run stop is legit. I think Montgomery gets shut down this week, and he's held under 10 points. I'm sure Vince disagrees. Of course, he's starting him, and he is a big Bears fan. So we'll see if Montgomery makes or breaks his season. Miles Sanders on the other side, I think he steps it up and has a good game this week. Miles Sanders, I gave up in a trade, taking a shot at David Johnson. And the more I look at that trade, the more it makes me nervous. Is David Johnson's career coming down, looking bad, versus Miles Sanders starting to pick it up a little bit. And then, of course, the most important part about this entire matchup, maybe even this entire playoff run for Thomas, We're talking about Devontae Parker, a.k.a. Easy GG. Devontae Parker has been amazing. He's, in the last 5 weeks, the number 3 wide receiver. And I think this is going to help Thomas just absolutely crush Vince this week in a blowout. I'm looking at Thomas to win by 20 or more points this week. All right, so I know there's half of us, this bottom 6 teams. You guys are wondering, Andrew, what are your thoughts? How's this whole thing going to play out? And as far as the matchups this week, I think Josh puts in the work and finds a way to somehow lose to my brother. I think Brian goes ahead and loses this week. But we all know where it's going. We all know the final game is this garbage bowl is going to be versus these 2 garbage teams. We both have bye weeks for a reason. We're trash teams. We're going to play each other in a trash bowl. And that's just how it will be. Andrew versus Jason. Can't wait to see that finals. Anyway, for half of you, better luck next year. For the other half, good luck in the playoffs. I will see all you guys probably for a one last Zoe Bowl at the end of the year to take a look at that final game. I'll be doing one last video podcast. So talk to you guys one more time. See you later.